Come on, guys.
There's no slowing no one down. He's faster than a speeding bullet.
What's up?
Good morning, Vietnam. All right, so good morning, good Monday morning to everybody. Start of the week. Today I kind of want to talk about perspective. I spent the weekend at my dad's house, kind of hanging out with him and catching up with some old friends, and hung out with this one dude, and he's working in factories and stuff, and always complaining about, you know, not having money, working his tail off and all this kind of stuff. And I was over there, and his kids even do it too. They complain about everything. And I was just sitting there thinking, this was me 2 years ago. I was in a factory, hated my job, hated my life. I was working just so I could get off and, you know, hang out with other people. So the perspective of that is can drag you down. It's very negative, very contagious. It spreads to everybody. Like I said, his kids even do it. So my perspective has changed completely, where now I'm more focused on what I can accomplish as to the bad situation that I'm in. Like Cody says, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. But how do we get to that? How do we, what's the word I'm looking for? Make accountability so we can accomplish what's meant to be. I think perspective is one, and then action is two. So the easiest way to be inactive or to be not accomplish your goals is to be one, lazy, or two, have too much information coming in. Because too much information is kind of like sensory overload. It kind of makes you paralyzed. You just sit there and look around, right? Can't really do anything. So the perspective of, I'm going to get up and I'm going to accomplish this today, or I'm working towards, I want to travel the world. That's my why right now, is I want to travel. And so my perspective is, what do I need to do today to accomplish that goal for the future? What do I need to do tomorrow? What's some things perspective-wise that have changed in each one of you? I would like to hear that, Stephen. Perspectively, you know, changed today over what was like 2 years ago or a year ago.
I would say 3 years ago for me, because 3 years ago I was in a very different position in my life, and my perspective was that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make the amount of money that I've always dreamed of making. And a lot of that was just the disbelief in me, and I just didn't know how, right? When you ask somebody, do you want to make a lot of money? Yeah, I want to make a lot of money. And that's always been a goal for me, because I've always been money motivated, but you don't know how to make a lot of money. So then you find out how, it changes your perspective of okay, now I can see how I can do it, rather than having that disbelief and just a false hope really of, oh, I think I can do this, and you never like have a path forward or a map to follow to get there. So like I said, for me, like, I mean, just meeting Justin, that one relationship has changed my whole life.
Right, yeah. I'd like to hear from Johnny too, because big perspective change from...
My perspective went from being obsessed with helping others before I helped myself, if this even makes any sense. Trying to help others before I ever even helped myself was something that was very important to me, because I always saw what my brother was doing and saw what all these successful people were doing. I never even had done it or even took the action to make it happen, but I still always strived for it. I always said, man, this is where we need to be. With my loser friends that were dragging me down, I was like, man, this is where we should be. We should be over here doing this, balling. But I never ever fixed myself before I tried to help somebody else. And then once you actually do that, you realize that people aren't going to help themselves. You're not going to help anybody that doesn't want to help themselves. So that's mine.
Rob?
Yeah, I would say for me, community is a big perspective change. You know, I think it's either Jim Rome or Brian Tracy who says that you're the sum total of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. I think a lot of your perspective has changed because you've gotten around people that actually want to be successful.
Right, yeah, and that goes
right.
back to...
There's an old saying that you never listen to people that are more broke than you are, or not where you're already at. So I never listen to anybody that's not already there, or listen to anyone that's on that same path. And for me, mine's a little different. Most of you know this, a pastor, minister. But I had fallen to this myth that if you were in ministry, you couldn't have money. And so I was sabotaging my own success in a lot of ways. And I met a gentleman who's a fellow pastor who said this one thing to me, and it changed my life 2 years ago. Because I had been successful before, had money, had my own business, but had just really fallen into a funk, if you will, for about 8 years. And he said that you'll preach the best sermons you'll ever preach when you're financially free. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and it ignited that passion and that flame in my heart again. So I really believe that perspective changes a lot when you're around people that are successful and are doing the things that you already want to do.
When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
That's it.
Perspective.
That's it.
Start. What about you?
Well, similar to Rob's, I grew up, well, I didn't grow up, but while I was in Blue Mountain College, I don't think pastors realize this or professors realize this, or even the people in the in your environment, that to be a humble minister, you have to be broke. And I learned that change from Rob, but I also grew up as a kid of a farmer. And so you work hard, and the harder you work, the more work someone gives you. And so I had this idea that I had to just work hard physically all the time. And then when I started to think with my mind for my money, meaning, pastoring, I would receive money for the way that I think and help people learn about the Bible. Then I started to realize over time, getting out of that bubble and getting in a different context, which is at the church with Rob, and then somehow I ended up here. And then all of that community made me think, well, I don't have to be broke to be humble. I don't have to work hard all the time. I can work smart, and I can work hard and smart, but you need both. And so over time, it just kind of changed my
I
perspective.
think it's weird how people think that if you make a lot of money, you can't be humble. That makes no sense to me, because it's not. Humility is not about the amount of money you have in your bank account. It's how you act towards people. It's how you respond to things. So that's always been funny to me. Nolan, what about you?
Yeah, perspective is something that's always changing. It could be like a few of the other people mentioned, the 5 people that you hang around, that makes a big difference. And it's always going to be adjusting. You're going to have a big one here and there that you remember for years, but it's dependent on who you're hanging around. It's you gotta be willing to adjust them, even if it's where you live or how you work, or I guess one specifically for myself is having a successful first AEP. Well, then going to the next one where I'm working my own AEP while coaching others. It's a different perspective, because now you have to put yourself in their shoes and do your best to help them as well. So
It's funny because I always wanted to be, if they always say if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Well, I always like, well, that's dumb. I want to be the smartest person in the room. It was like a safety net for me. Like, I'm the smartest person here, so everybody here's got to ask me questions or something. Until I got around all of y'all, and it's like, it's better to be not the smartest person in the room, because then you learn a lot more. I wouldn't learn anything when I was the smartest person in the room. Nothing. So, Mallory, what about you?
I feel like mine doesn't necessarily come down to like money or success. It comes down to just being like around you guys. Like, I've worked so many different places where I was not happy, so therefore I would take that home, and I wouldn't be happy at home, or especially now that I have kids and a husband, it's a little bit different. So now that I get to come to a place that is I truly enjoy to be at every day, and all of you guys are my friends and my family, and I feel like that has changed me personally, just being around people that I enjoy being around, and having a good time at work. Therefore I can not be stressed and crazy at home, which I'm already crazy, but
Kelly?
Mine's pretty much the same as Mallory's. I love my job. I love the people I work with, every one of you. I love coming here every day.
I'm a plus.
Yeah, Mallory's a plus. Megan. But a couple years ago, I went through something outside of work that most everyone here knows about. And I'll be honest with you. There was a time when every day I got up, this right here was the only thing that got me out of bed every morning. This and my kids. And I just love helping people, and I just love my job. So that I used to work somewhere that was very negative. Everybody was cutthroat, out to get each other. Nobody wanted to help anybody else, and this is complete total opposite of that. So I love it.
Yeah, we're really blessed here. Because even at the leave that in there. We're very blessed around here. At the conference, I couldn't tell you how many people come up to me and said that they want to come just be around us because the atmosphere we have around each other. It was like y'all are like one big family, like all a bunch of brothers and sisters running around. And I've never had that. I always disliked a lot of people that I worked in factories, and especially my bosses, but that's a different story. Jackson, you're fairly new. How's your perspective changed since you've been here?
It's actually changed a little bit more than what you would think it would. I've only been here for a month now, but I was talking to Rob the other day. My situation before this was like, it seemed like a good situation, right? But like when I got here, it's like my perspective changed, and I realized how stressed I was, right? Like I used to make jokes. It's like, oh, only 45 years till I retire, you know? It's like stuff like that, you know? It's like, oh, 44, here we go, we're getting there, you know? And now it's like, when I go home, I can tell, like, you know, I'm talking to my wife, I'm excited about what I'm doing. I'm excited about my job. I'm telling her like, hey, you know, I did this today. I wrote this many apps today. You know, I feel like I'm really fitting in, and it makes a difference. Like even in our relationship, now she's telling me about her work, because now she doesn't feel bad because I'm coming home like, oh, you know,
yeah,
you know, I don't have to work for another 2 days. This is great. So you know, it's you know, just in the short time. Even when I was thinking it was a great situation, now I realize, man, I really am in a good situation. So that for me,
yeah, and that translates to everything. Attitude determines your altitude. How high you go depends on your attitude towards everything. And like you said, it translates to home life and stuff. Mm-hmm. I used to come home and go right to bed when I was in factories and stuff.
I think a lot of that though is like with setting goals. I mean, when you get around people, you know, where everybody's always talking about setting goals, and then you actually sit down and you start thinking about goals. I remember at my last job, probably 7 or 8 years ago, we started doing some training, and the trainer come in and he was like, I want you to write down your list of goals. And I'm probably like 27, 28. I'm like, wow, like I don't have any goals. I've never written any goals down. I don't know what my goals are. So I think once you figure out what your goals are, that changes your perspective, right? You start thinking about things in a whole new light. Your motivation for doing things is different. So I think having goals is a huge, just like I said, momentum shift in your mind to focus in on something else. Because if you don't have any goals, there's no motivation, there's no focus, you know, and
gives you something to chase.
Yeah. So I mean, like, I think having goals is one of the biggest things that you can do to change your perspective, for sure.
Yeah. I'm very competitive by nature. I hate to lose, and so every time Stark writes more apps than me, I get mad. So being around all of y'all is keeping me where, like, I don't want to get left behind. I want to write the most apps. Don't happen every day. Some days it does, but yeah, it's really good. We are in the greatest opportunity that I've seen in this industry, at this place, with working with who we work with. I mean, even in this country. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on right now, but we still live in the best country in the world. So like seeing all these people complain all the time, it kind of irritates me, because my dad has gone to the Philippines before on a mission trip, and those people over there, they love getting a t-shirt. Love it. They think they're on cloud nine just because somebody sent them a t-shirt. And we're over here complaining that there was ice on the ground for a week. Like, our perspective in this country is pretty bad. So let's make sure that our perspective here is positive, and that we're achieving the goals that we set. Perspective is everything. Have a great week.